All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle a pretty wild idea today, one that kind of flips everything we think we know on its head. What if that perfect life, the one with zero problems, what if that dream life is actually a curse?
Okay, so just for a second, play along with me here. Imagine you wake up tomorrow morning and every single little annoyance, every frustration in your life, poof, it's just gone.
And I mean everything. You never have to wait in line at the DMV again. That awful customer service hold music? A thing of the past. A pipe bursts in your house, you wouldn't even know it because it was fixed before you even saw a drop of water. Any little mistake you make, it's just handled, wiped clean. Every single obstacle is just passed off to your own personal team, an army of assistants.
So yeah, we're talking about a completely frictionless life. Sounds amazing, right? I mean, that's the dream. That's what it means to have made it.
This is it, the peak, the ultimate goal we're all supposed to be chasing. Every commercial, every movie, every story about success, they're all selling us this exact fantasy.
But what if it's all wrong? The sources we're looking at today say that this perfect, frictionless life, it's not a blessing. It's a trap, a beautiful golden trap.
Okay, I know what you're probably thinking. Sure, easy to say when you're not a billionaire. It sounds a little like sour grapes, right? Something we tell ourselves to feel better about our own struggles. But that's not what this is about. The argument isn't money is evil, not at all. It's about what actually happens to a human being psychologically when you take away every single struggle.
And this quote right here, it just nails it. The very thing that shields you from all the hard stuff, it also blocks you from all the experiences you need to build resilience, to gain wisdom, to become a real, authentic person. It's a shield for sure, but it shields you from life itself.
So, how does that actually work? Like, what's the mechanism here? Let's get into what the sources call the physics of character. It all boils down to the environment this kind of life creates. They call it the fortress of wealth. And look, this isn't just about having a big house or a fancy car. It's about building an entire system, a wall that separates you from the messy, unpredictable, chaotic reality that the rest of us live in. Your life stops being a life and starts being, well, a perfectly managed performance.
And what is this fortress protecting you from? A single word, friction. Now, normally we think of friction as all the bad stuff, right? The flat tire, the argument with your boss, dealing with bureaucracy, it's all just annoying. But here's the key idea, that friction isn't just an annoyance, it's data. Crucial, essential data for your brain.
Think about it like a toddler learning to walk. It's the perfect analogy. They try to stand, they wobble, they fall down. Boom, that's friction. The fall sends a little pain signal to the brain, and the brain goes, okay, that didn't work, let's adjust. It recalibrates, it learns. Now, what if every single time that toddler started to fall, some invisible hand caught them and stood them back up? Their brain would never get the data from the fall. They'd never actually learn to walk on their own.
And that's the feedback loop right there. For most of us, it's simple. You do something, there's a real consequence, and your brain gets feedback. You learn. But inside that frictionless fortress, you do something, and the consequence gets erased by that army of assistants. So what's missing? The most important part, the feedback. Without it, you literally stop learning how the world works. The sources have a powerful metaphor for this, the crucible of struggle. A crucible is what you use to forge steel. It takes intense heat and pressure to make it strong. The argument is that human character is the exact same. It needs the heat of struggle to be forged. Without that crucible, you just stay unfinished. Now, the sources use someone like Donald Trump as a kind of non-political case study here. They say, just forget the politics for a second, and just imagine what it's like to be a person who hasn't had to personally solve a minor problem, like a flat tire or a broken appliance, in decades. The point isn't about him specifically, it's about what that kind of system does to any person who lives inside it.
So what are the real costs of living inside this bubble? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. It leads to a kind of poverty that has nothing to do with money.
For starters, your own wins start to feel empty, hollow. I mean, think about it. If you've never really been challenged, how do you even know what you're capable of? It's like playing a video game on the easiest setting with all the cheat codes turned on. Yeah, you won, but did you really win? There's just no satisfaction in it. And that's the word to focus on, denied. It's not a choice. The very structure of this life robs you of that amazing feeling you get from overcoming something genuinely hard. You miss out on the pure sweetness of a victory that you actually earned.
And all of this leads to what the sources call a poverty of experience. And this isn't a poverty of money. It's a poverty of, well, of depth, of connection. Here's a way to think about it. Empathy is basically data matching in your brain. When a friend tells you they're stressed about paying rent, you can connect because your brain has a data point for financial stress. But what if you don't have that data point? What if you have no reference for hardship at all? You literally can't compute what that person is feeling. You end up totally disconnected, emotionally isolated.
And a problem like this doesn't just stay with one person. No way. It ripples out and has these huge societal consequences. You get social fragmentation, where it's like we're living in two completely different realities with no way to understand each other. Our values get all twisted up, and we start thinking that having a lot of money is the same thing as having character. And maybe the saddest part is the generational impact. You end up raising kids who are totally skill deficient. They're almost disabled by their own privilege, completely unprepared for a world that doesn't just cater to their every whim.
So, when you hear all this, it's really easy to feel, I don't know, maybe a little bit of resentment or even some satisfaction. But this is where the sources take a really surprising turn. They argue that instead of envy, we should actually feel sympathy. Why? Because these people are trapped. They're in a kind of psychological prison where they can never really know if someone loves them or for their money. They never get to find out what they're truly made of.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together, because this whole idea builds to a really powerful conclusion, not just about them, but about us. This is where we get to completely reframe what it actually means to have a rich life.
And this quote just flips the whole script. It says the point of life isn't to avoid all the problems, to build your own fortress. No. The real measure of a good life is found in what you've had to overcome.
And if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Your struggles, that annoying car repair, that tough conversation you had to have, stressing over the budget, those are not signs that you're failing. They are the engine of your growth. They are your assets. They are building a richness in you that money literally cannot buy. Your scars, they're just proof that you've actually lived. So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. In the story of your life, with all its real-world friction and all its hard-won battles, are your struggles making you richer? Maybe the next time you hit one of those bumps in the road, instead of just cursing it, you can remember that's the friction that's making your life real. Thanks for thinking through this with me.